Star Wars The Force Unleashed released in 2008 and is one of my favourite Star Wars games ever. I had it as a kid and thought playing as the dark side was one of the coolest things that very few games have managed to replicate. For some reason recently I felt like replaying it, and as I tend to do, I got the Platinum Trophy as well. Couldn't tell you why I wanted to play it, quite honestly. It's not like I've seen any Star Wars media recently. In fact, I've not seen any at all since Rise of Skywalker killed any remaining enthusiasm I may have had for this franchise, but hey, we need not dwell on that and can travel back to a much simpler time. So to start with, what is this game? This game is set between episodes 3 and 4, where you play as Darth Vader's secret apprentice known as Starkiller. Like most things, I'm pretty sure it's no longer canon, thank you Disney. The game has 10 missions, including a prologue level where you play as Darth Vader, which as a kid I thought was just the coolest thing ever. That is admittedly less missions than I remembered, but everything feels longer as a kid. To give an incredibly brief rundown of the story, Vader sends Starkiller to kill some Jedi, betrays him when the Emperor shows up unannounced, but later says it was just a prank. Starkiller gathers the soon-to-be rebel leaders before getting betrayed by Vader again, except this time it's not a prank, and then goes to the Death Star where he either sacrifices himself to save the rebels or kills Vader and become Emperor Palp's new apprentice, depending on whether you go light side or dark side for the ending. For my first run, I went light side. I remembered the Vader boss being significantly easier than Palp's, but as it turns out, my memory was completely useless. You see, growing up, I had the PS2 version of the game, which apparently is not the same as the PS3 version. Suddenly, all my memories not lining up made a whole lot of sense. Like in the PS2 version, you don't get to bring down the Star Destroyer yourself, and I'm also pretty sure there's no Darth Maul boss fight either. In case you were wondering though, the game absolutely still kept the nostalgia factor despite being a completely different game actually. For my first run through though, I wasn't worried about trophies. If stuff popped, cool, but if not, I'm not going out of my way for it yet. After beating the game the first time, I then had to decide what to do next. Scouring the trophy list, one thing stuck out to me that I was not looking forward to, that being to beat the game on the hardest difficulty. While I had a lot of fun with this game, there is no denying that there is absolutely some jank to it, which on higher difficulties can be incredibly deadly. If only there was some way to avoid all of that. Don't worry, I got you. Allow me to introduce you to the level skip glitch. This is shockingly simple to pull off. How it works is you go to the level select menu, hover over the restart button for the level that you are currently on, and then after pressing the button, quickly mash down on the D-pad and the game will load up a level that is lower on the list even if it's not unlocked yet. Doing this, I was able to skip to the final level on the hardest difficulty. Still have to play through that level though, but that's much easier than the whole game. But still, this difficulty is no joke. It really would be nice if there was some way to make it easier. You know where I'm going with this. So basically, this game has cheat codes that are supposed to disable trophies while giving you benefits. However, there is a workaround. If you put in all the codes to max out all your upgrades, you can then reset them to get all the level up points back, then put the code in again to max it out again while still keeping the level up points. Now this isn't super useful except for the fact that you get a full heal when you level up your health. So doing this lets you reset the skills constantly, level up for a full heal, and repeat when you need to. I gave myself like 200 blank skill points, or to be honest about 200 full heals. So yeah, that's an easy way to get the hardest difficulty trophy. Now there's always people that are like, you use glitches so it doesn't count. And if that's how you think, then fine, whatever. But the game's been out for over 15 years and there's not a patch in sight, so clearly they aren't that bothered, and at the end of the day, it's not that deep, dude. It's just a video game. You play how you want to, I'll play how I want to. Cool? Cool. After that, I decided to play through one more time to get all the holocrons. I used some old Achievement Hunter guides, which was a nostalgia trip in itself, rip Rooster Teeth. No issues with the guide at all, and I got all the holocrons. Slightly off topic, but this game has the Darksaber in it, which I didn't know, but god darn it looked cool. Definitely the coolest lightsaber design in my opinion. After that though, I looked at the list again, fully prepared to have to start kill farming, but no. What I didn't know until recently is that this game actually has DLC. There's 3 separate levels, each costing £8, and so I went through the whole rigmarole of adding funds to a more up-to-date console because you can't buy things straight from the PS3 anymore, and I bought the DLC. And before you comment, lol bro doesn't know he can just get it all on Steam easier and cheaper, Omega lol. I do know that. I'd just rather have the Platinum on the PlayStation list with all the other games I own. Cool? Cool. Anyway, I guess I'll talk about the DLC in the order I played it, so starting with the Jedi Temple DLC. Pretty simple, you have to do 2 side areas to unlock the central area, and then there's a boss at the end of it. Not much in the way of story, it says Starkiller is there looking for information about his father, but he finds nothing, so whatever, we won't focus on it. Instead, we'll look at the trophies. First off, kill 10 enemies with the big globe. This is really easy, but god is it fun barreling these mooks over with just a big rock. Really satisfying. The second is for clearing this training room within 2 minutes. So this sucks, you need to destroy the statues that are spawning all these droids, but they won't leave you alone and they knock you over, and it's super frustrating and really shows the weaknesses of this game's combat. It took me a few goes, I made it sound a lot harder than it actually is, but those were a frustrating 10 minutes attempting this. The third trophy is for moving this orb along the line without going off the line, making it turn red. I am ashamed at how many attempts this took me. It's just the last part has this disappearing line, so I was rushing to get through it and ended up veering off and making it red. This one was undoubtedly a skill issue. The final 4 trophies for this DLC are for beating it on each of the 4 difficulties, and they don't stack, so that means replaying it a lot. Or does it? Let me let you in on a little secret. The only part you need to replay is the final phase of the final boss. How this works is that after beating the boss, a cutscene will start. Pause the game here and wait for the trophy to pop. Once it does, change the difficulty to the next one you need to get. Save the game, return to title, and then reload the save. The game will put you on the final phase of the boss, and once you beat it, you get the trophy for the newly selected difficulty. You can repeat this for all of them. Saves having to replay the level 3 more times, which is good. Would have been better if they stacked from the start, but not the end of the world. The other 2 DLCs don't have any difficulty related trophies, but they are a lot more interesting from a story perspective. They're set after the dark side ending, where you become the Emperor's apprentice after murderizing Lord Vader, and have you as Starkiller partake in events from the movies, which is awesome fan service. The first takes you to Tatooine and all the trophies are easy. Grind up some Jawas, torture this poor droid, and do that thing from the movie. You also get to fight Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, which, like I said, is awesome. As a kid, I would have loved this, so I'm kinda gutted that I never played it until now. The final mission takes you to Hoth at the start of Empire Strikes Back, with trophies needing you to shock enemies with cables as well as unplug the turret battery. There are some mutually exclusive trophies though. You both need to kill 10 Wampas and 0 Wampas in the cave at the start. Luckily this area is literally right at the start, so it's really quick to redo and get both. This mission also has you fight Luke Skywalker, and not just fight him, but you corrupt him, little bro him, and make him your apprentice, which is just awesome. After doing all that though, I could no longer put off the most boring part of any Platinum trophy, the grinding. This game has a bunch of trophies for, say, kill 500 enemies with lightning, and there's one of these for most of the special abilities in the game, like Force Push or the Lightning Shield as well. To start with, we'll go with the lightning based abilities, that being Force Lightning and the Lightning Shield. Force Lightning I did really quick, as I used it loads when just going through the game normally, because everyone thought Force Lightning was just the coolest thing growing up, and I won't hear any disagreements. Lightning Shield, it turns out I actually didn't know how to use. You need to hold the button down to activate it instead of just pressing it, which the game does tell you, but reading is hard, especially when it's easy enough to beat the game without using it. For these two, I just ran through the first level a few times. Later levels introduce enemies that absorb lightning. I forget where they're introduced, but the first level has the weakest enemies, so that seemed like a no-brainer. It took around 3 or 4 goes through it. For the rest of the Force abilities though, there is a much better way to do it, and that is infinite enemy spawn points. The reason we couldn't use the lightning abilities with these though is because they're in the first level in the game. You know, the one where you play as Lord Vader, who can't use lightning. Serious question, any Star Wars mega fans know why he doesn't use it? And is that still a canon reason, or did Disney Thanos snap it out of existence? Anyway, the best place for these is this bridge, which has Wookiees that just charge you no matter how much you shove or launch them around. Worth mentioning that sometimes they did just stop spawning for me. It might have been my fault, I might have pushed up too far, but as long as you save without triggering the checkpoint and then load from the menu, you can head back to that area and keep grinding. Saving is important, as I read somewhere that if you don't, you lose all progress since the last save. I can't 100% verify that, but I believe it, as it seems like Force Push took me blimmin' ages. Anyway, I did this for a few hours while watching some YouTube in the background. With that really anticlimactic final trophy, the platinum was mine. So, how did I find this game? Well, despite this quite literally not being the game that I remembered as a kid, I still had a fun time. Force grabbing enemies and then yeeting them into the ground will never not be incredibly satisfying. Though I wasn't really a fan of any of the bosses. I think the game is at its best when you are overpowering a massive group of people weaker than you, rather than in one-on-one fights where the enemies just keep blocking you and it can be unclear as to what you actually need to do to damage them at points. As far as trophies go, there's too many boring just kill X trophies. Weirdly, the DLC has much more unique and fun trophies, such as grind up the Jawas or kill with the giant globe. They still need you to defeat a number of enemies, but it's a bit more fun than just holding down the lightning button, don't you think? If you haven't played this game, you probably won't be blown away in 2025, but you might still have a good time. But if you did play it back in the day, you will feel that nostalgia in your veins and have just as good a time now as you did all those years ago. And that's the video. Have you played and platinumed this game? Did this unlock any nostalgia for you? Let me know all that and more in the comments, and while you're down there, why not like and subscribe? It's free, helps me out, and makes it easier for you to see my videos, both old and new. They're all trophy and achievement related, so stick around if you like that kind of thing. Thank you for watching. For now though, I'm off, hunt them tropes, and I'll see you next time.